All right, team, huddle up. We got a big game today. Now, the other team is bigger than us, faster than us, and they're really good at marching and making signs, because the biggest thing that hit sports in 2020 was social justice. Let's go to the film room and find out how professional athletes, teams, and even their multi-billion-dollar leagues have responded. Today on Blank Canvas, we're talking about the Passionates, a rapidly growing consumer group who make their decisions based upon their values and principles. The Passionates won't buy from, work for, or trust a company unless they're taking action on the issues the Passionates care about. Issues like climate change, sustainability, waste, and social justice. And thanks to social media, they know about everything, from supply chains to the treatment of employees, to what a CEO wears when she takes the kids for ice cream. And yes, it's a fanny pack. The Passionates are not only the most loyal customer base, but more than half of them are millennials and Gen Z, so the future of business depends on them. The COVID-19 pandemic took away a lot from us in 2020. Parties, family gatherings, school, and it took away my favorite way of greeting people, the quadruple cheek kiss and simulcough. It's very French. It also took away sports for a while. And when sports did return, they were totally different, but not because of COVID. Recently, major sports, like all businesses, have been changing because their fans' attitudes have been changing, specifically when it comes to social justice issues. Remember back in September 2016 when quarterback Colin Kaepernick was at the forefront of the social justice movement in the NFL, when he kneeled during the national anthem to protest police violence toward Black Americans. This sparked important conversations as well as unrest from fans who felt that protests didn't belong in sports, which I always found weird because those same fans love the kiss cam and the wave, neither of which belongs in sports at all. Now the Passionates, they grew more vocal on social media, and they also spoke up with their wallets. According to NBC News, when Nike revealed its Just Do It anniversary campaign featuring Kaepernick, sales rose an astounding 10%. This prompted Nike to change its campaign to Just Did It and add a mic drop. But the tide really turned in 2020 after then police officer Derek Chauvin killed George Floyd. The Black Lives Matter movement saw an international groundswell of support. And sports fans' attitudes shifted so much that in less than 4 years, according to an ESPN survey, 71% of sports fans said they support teams and athletes for speaking out on issues of social justice and racial equality. Millennials and Gen Z did all that. Just imagine what else they could do if they didn't spend all that money on avocado toast. Nah, I'm just kidding. That trope is dead, because we all know that money's going toward $1 trillion of student debt and completely unaffordable housing and healthcare. You got a raw deal, millennials and Gen Z. I see you. Professional sports leagues, teams, and athletes couldn't ignore the outcry from their fans. So how did they address it? To find out, let's look at the wide world of socially conscious sports. First stop, North America. Following the lead of their players, the NBA led the pack when it came to raising awareness of social justice issues, and we'll talk more about them later. But for what has traditionally been a homogenous sport, the NHL took some big steps, which is not easy to do in ice skates. After Kenosha, Wisconsin police shot Jacob Blake, NHL players refused to play 4 Stanley Cup playoff games in protest of the event, postponing the entire schedule in light of matters more important than sports. Next stop, Europe. The English Premier League allowed players to replace their names with Black Lives Matter on the backs of their jerseys. The league also supported players taking a knee before or even during a match. After taking cues from the Passionates and their players, German football clubs Bayern Munich and TSG Hoffenheim established powerful social justice initiatives against racism. FC Bayern's Red Against Racism campaign created videos speaking out against racism both in and outside of sports, while TSG Hoffenheim's TSG Against Racism campaign dedicated an entire week in March to bring issues of prejudice forward and to ask for action on the part of players, owners, and fans alike. Together, they're trying to make the score Humanity 2, Racism 1, which, as I understand it, is a very, very high-scoring football match. For a deeper understanding about how and why athletes are taking up social issues, I sat down with golf superstar and winner of the 2019 Safeway Open, Cameron Champ. Cameron, it's a pleasure to meet you. Thanks so much for joining us on Blank Canvas.
No, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You are making quite a splash in a sport that historically has lacked diversity, to put it mildly. Can you talk about this moment of solidarity you displayed during the BMW Open with Black Lives Matter after the Kenosha police shot Jacob Blake?
For me, I just feel like it was at a tipping point for me just to be able to speak up on, again, my experiences and what I've gone through with my family, what my grandfather has gone through, since he was a boy. And obviously back in the days in the South, African Americans weren't allowed to play. So once he enlisted into the military, he learned the game overseas, in Germany, England. My grandmother was actually Danish. At the time, they wanted to move back to Texas, but if he would have married a white woman, he would have went to jail.
Cameron, for those who didn't see your action at the BMW Open, can you describe what you did?
I wore one white shoe, one black shoe. Then I wrote Black Lives Matter on one shoe and then Jacob Blake on the other shoe, as long as with Breonna Taylor's.
So you've also used your platform to create a foundation. Can you tell us about the Cameron Champ Foundation and the scholarship partnership with Chevron that's for students in the Napa area, your family's new home in California? What's the legacy you're hoping to build with your foundation?
For me, it's just all about the kids and about the next generation. So, giving them opportunity, giving the kids chances in our community, with using golf as the major platform. But then again, it's not all about golf. It's about, STEM education, mentorship, feeling like they have someone they can talk to, feeling like someone is actually there for them.
Cameron, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we look forward to seeing you continue using your platform to have impact on the course and off.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.
Now it's time for our big story. And there was nothing bigger in the sports world than the NBA bubble in Orlando, Florida. After a 4.5-month stop down due to COVID, the NBA resumed its season at Disney World in Orlando. The players and essential personnel were tested every day to make sure they were COVID-free. How big an undertaking was this? To really explain, let's check the scoreboard. The bubble lasted 97 days, during which time 172 games were played by 341 players. The cost was an estimated $180 million. And the craziest number of all, 0. There were 0 COVID cases during the entire Orlando bubble. As protests swelled in the streets, the NBA and the players worked together in the bubble to make a commitment to raise awareness for social justice. The players wore social justice messaging on their jerseys, and the NBA even put the words Black Lives Matter on the court. And after pressure from the players, the teams and the governors agreed to open NBA arenas to be used as voting stations in the 2020 election. While the decision to push these messages of justice so strongly may seem controversial, according to an ESPN survey, 55% of fans supported the decision, which is 45% less than I think it should have been, but it's also a majority, so I'll take the win, because that's how elections work. To find out more, joining us are 2 top-level executives at the NBA, Oris Stewart, their Chief People and Inclusion Officer, and Corey Davis-Porter, the league's SVP of Content and Business Ops, who's taken a lead role on the NBA's Social Justice Committee. Corey and Oris, thank you so much for joining me. Welcome to Blank Canvas.
Thank you. Good to be here with you.
Thank you.
This has been a monumental year, to say the least, and the NBA had to make some serious decisions on how to create an entirely new way of going about business. Tell us how the NBA approached the challenges it faced.
We became an organization that said, we're going to break the rules. We're going to not be encumbered by business as usual or things that we thought we couldn't do or shouldn't do. Perhaps most importantly, the organization removed a lot of the barriers to decision-making, thought very differently about hierarchy, brought together people from different parts of our business, unleashed them to focus on some of the unique challenges that we were going to have to work through to figure out how to bring the game back to life. Let them know that all bets were off or all bets were on.
We've been talking about a group of people called the Passionates, who make decisions on which brands to support and what to watch based on moral choices. They support companies whose views are in line with their own. Do you think this segment of fans has changed the business of the NBA?
We are happy that our fans align with what our principles are. However, our decisions are always based on those values. And so, we'll continue to base our decisions on that and, feel that our fans will be committed to, making us accountable for what we're doing, but also aligning with these principles in any of the decisions that we make.
We have to have those fans you're talking about, those passionates, and all of the fans, the diverse group of fans we have. We have to have those values and those frames of references, those experiences represented inside our organization, so that as we make decisions about our business, it's mindful of who these people are. I mean, it's not enough to have a sense of them. You've got to be them.
Corey, I'm going to ask you to look ahead. How will the NBA continue the conversation about social justice with the governors and the players now that the league is out of the bubble? Was the bubble the magic, or do you think it can persist outside of that very contained and controlled environment?
I think it's the action behind the commitments and seeing how those will be executed and the impact that it will have on the Black community moving forward. People want action yesterday, last year, months ago, but I think with the combination of communication, action, a plan, execution, collaboration, we can make a difference, and using our platform to do it.
Corey and Oris, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for having us. Really appreciate it.
We're almost out of time, but the bottom line to all of this is that sports isn't just entertainment. The passionates want to see their favorite players, teams, and leagues being heroes both on and off the field for matters that go far beyond the scoreboard. A lot of people, they don't think their individual choices can make an impact. And they may be right. Alone, your choices won't drive the size of change we need. But if we put important issues like social justice and racial equality first when making buying decisions, then we can make lasting change. Together, we got this. See you next time on Blank Canvas.